there's an important concept we need to talk about, which is a fundamental part of motion and forces. And that's the fact that the x and y motions are independent. In the last example, if the stone's actual velocity was 2.2 meters per second in this direction, then why do we care about these things called components? Why is it useful to focus on the stone's motion in the x direction or the y direction? Here's the concept that's going to be very important as we study physics. An object's x motion and y motion are independent of each other. Let's read that again. An object's x motion and y motion are independent of each other. Put another way, x motion does not affect y motion, and y motion does not affect x motion. This is a concept that you might not have thought about, and it's not intuitive, so it may take some time for it to sink in. So, what does this mean? First, motion can mean anything we've learned about in kinematics: position, displacement, velocity, or acceleration. Since we're covering velocity in this video, let's use the word velocity. How does this apply to our last example? Let's watch the motion of the stone again as it's hit by the wind. The x velocity is 2 meters per second to the right the entire time. The wind does not change the stone's x velocity because the wind doesn't push the stone in the x direction. The x motion and y motion are independent, so the change in the y velocity has no effect on the x velocity. The y velocity changes because the wind pushes the stone in the y direction. But the y velocity has nothing to do with the fact that the stone is moving to the right. The x motion does not affect the y motion. So, by knowing that the x and y velocities are independent, we were able to take two separate velocity vectors and add them to find the stone's new velocity.